welcome back to my channel. My name is Kim from Make One Right Knit. That's m1rknit.com. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to knit using the Norwegian method. That is a continental style where you hold the yarn in your left hand. So for demonstration purposes, we are going to use some worsted weight yarn. This is Woolies by Lion Brand. And we're going to use a 4.5 millimeter needle. So it does say on the label, they suggest a needle size of 5 millimeter. And the reason I'm using a 4 millimeter is because I know that that's what I get gauge with. You are going to find that your gauge is so much different than everyone else, and that's okay. So if you find that you are a tight knitter, you're going to needle up. And if you are a loose knitter like I am, you're going to needle down. So your gauge, actually what I should say is your gauge is really dependent on the tension that you use when you're knitting and your needle size. So, okay. So to begin, we're going to use the long tail cast on method. I love this method, and I definitely recommend starting with that because it is such a great cast on method. You can use it for almost everything, and I design with it a lot because of that reason. Okay, so in order to determine actually, you know what? Before we start, what I do want to say is everyone knits differently. Don't let anybody come at you saying that you knit wrong or you should hold it this way or you're not doing it that way. No, you knit the way that it's most comfortable for you and your body. Okay, so the long tail cast on. In order to determine the length of your tail, you're going to times it by 3. So whatever your stitch count is, whatever the stitch count that you need for your pattern, you're going to times that by 3. So for example, if I'm going to cast on 40 stitches, I need enough yarn to actually cast on 120 stitches, if that makes sense, because we're timesing it by 3. So then we know that we have a long enough cast on, or tails rather. So I'm not even going to count my cast on stitches for the demonstration purposes. So I'm going to pretend that we are casting on 40, and I'm going to times that by 3, which would be enough tail to cast on 120, if that makes sense. So we're just going to pretend that this is 40, 40, and 40. And then we're going to cast on 40 because we need that length of tail in order to cast on 40 stitches, if that makes sense. Okay. So we are going to start with a slip knot, and the way that I do a slip knot, actually I'm going to bring my camera down just a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. Maybe that's too close now. Right there. Okay, so we are going to start with a slip knot, and we're going to take our needle like this, and we're just going to bring it around like that and pinch it. And then we're going to take this and wrap it around our needle and just pull it through that loop that we made like that. So that is our slip knot. There's other ways that you can do a slip knot that's probably even easier, but that's how I do it. So I'm going to show you that one more time. So we're going to hold our yarn like this, and you're going to take your needle and wrap it around. You're just twisting it around the needle. That's all you're doing. Then you're going to pinch that twist, wrap around the yarn, and bring this loop through the little loop that we made on our needle already, like that. Okay? And snug it up, but don't make it too tight. You never want your stitches too tight because you're going to be fighting with them and it hurts your hands. So, all right, so to begin, I'm going to find the end of our tail end is going to go around our thumb, like so. And then our working yarn, which is attached to our ball, the working yarn is going to go around our index finger, okay? So we're going to make a slingshot like this. And remember, the thumb has our tail, the working yarn is on our index finger. Okay. And then we're going to take our needle and position our slingshot like that. And what I find helpful is taking my thumb and just bringing it up. So it kind of has a loop around my thumb like that. Then you're going to take your needle and bring it alongside your thumb through that loop. Then you're going to pick the yarn from your index finger and bring it through the yarn on your thumb like that. It is really weird going this slow, so I know it kind of probably looks a little bit fumbly. Okay, so slingshot again. We're going to move our thumb up so that yarn kind of wraps around our thumb like that. You're going to take your needle and slide it alongside your thumb through that loop that we made on our thumb. We're going to pick the yarn from our index finger and bring it through the loop that we made on our thumb like that. You see that? And then let go of your thumb and snug it up and not too tight. Okay. And again, slingshot, thumb, needle along your thumb through that loop on your thumb, pick the yarn from your index finger and bring it through that loop on your thumb. And then remove your thumb out of that loop, let drop, snug it up. But remember, you want your stitches to be able to move. You see that? They're not too tight and they're not too loose. They're kind of perfect. Okay, slingshot again. Remember, the thumb has the tail, the working yarn the index finger has a working yarn. Okay? Slingshot, move your thumb up like so. So it has it's wrapped around your thumb, but not all of the way, right? Like that. Take your needle, slide it along your thumb through that loop that we made. You see that? And you're going to pick the yarn from your index finger and bring it through that yarn on your thumb. And then you're going to drop your thumb out and leave that loop that we just created on your needle. Snug it up. Let's cast on a few stitches. And if I went too fast during the demonstration, you can slow the video down or pause it and just practice. Okay? How many stitches do we have? We're going to count here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19. We'll just do 20. There we go. Like so. Okay? So now that we have our stitches cast on, we're going to take our needle and put it in our left hand. Our empty needle is on our right hand. And you're going to make sure, and I've done this like a million times. I've been knitting for decades and I still do this. Make sure that the tail is dropped out of the way so you're not knitting with it. Because if you do, then you're going to have to pull out your knitting and it's super annoying. Okay, so we've got our working yarn here. And the way that I tension my knitting in order to get gauge is I wrap it around my pinky finger like that. And this is what I mean about different styles of knitting. Maybe your pinky finger, you don't like to wrap it around your pinky finger. Maybe it's your ring finger, your middle finger, whatever. Whatever that is for you, do whatever is comfortable for you, okay? Don't listen to them because it'll ruin your experience if they start nitpicking you. Okay, so now that this is how I tension my yarn. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it around my pinky finger like that, just loosely, okay? And then I'm going to really slowly show you. So I've wrapped it around my pinky finger. So I went in this way and I've wrapped it around my pinky finger like that. Okay, so this is the working yarn. Wrap it around my pinky finger. And then I'm going to take my index finger and I'm going to lift it on top of my index finger like that. Okay? And you can tension it up a little bit if you want. You don't want it too tight. Too tight is not good. Okay, and our tail is out of the way. We've double checked, made sure our tail is out of the way. And now we can start knitting. So Norwegian style of knitting is like picking. You're picking the yarn. And I love that. But again, let me say, when I am knitting on something, sometimes I find and I love the Norwegian style, okay? But sometimes I find that while I'm picking the yarn, my finger can get quite tender. So as I'm knitting on large projects for hours and hours and hours, sometimes I hold my yarn out just a little bit so I'm not grazing my finger with my knitting needle, and that helps for me. But the classic way of knitting the Norwegian is picking it off of your finger. Okay, so again, we're going to tension our finger. We're going to wrap it around our pinky finger like that, and then down and on top of our index finger. Just going to snug it up a little bit. Okay, and our tail is out of our way, and now we're going to start knitting. All right, so in order to start knitting, we're going to take our needle from our right hand and we're going to put it into our stitch. I hope I'm in focus. Let me focus that a little bit better. Okay, and we're going to slide our needle from the front of the stitch. You see that? The front of the stitch to the back. See that? Let's see if I can get it up close here for you. So front to back, like that. You don't want to do this. We don't want to go through the back because that will twist your stitches. Unless you want to twist your stitches and go through the back. But we're going to go through the front of the stitch like that. So I hope I'm trying to focus here for you. You see that? Okay. So the front of the stitch to the back. It looks like that. We're going to pick the yarn off of our finger. So weird going this slow. We're going to pick the yarn from our index finger. I'm going to bring it through that stitch like that. Okay, and then that stitch comes off. So again, front of the needle to the back. Pick the yarn up and bring it through the stitch like that. Okay, and we're going to snug this down. That's our tail. Remember, that's our tail. Keep it out of the way. Okay, front to the back. Pick off of her finger and bring it through the stitch. So again, front, back, pick off of her finger. Oops, sorry, I'm not on camera. Pick off of her finger and bring it through the stitch. It is just very strange knitting this slow. So I'm trying to, make it as easy as possible to see. Okay, let's see if I can bring this down just a little bit maybe. Okay, so again, front of the stitch to the back. It looks like that. See that? Pick the stitch off of her finger and bring it through that stitch. Okay? Pick and bring it through the stitch. Pick, bring it through the stitch. Pick, bring it through the stitch. Pick, and bring it through the stitch. Okay? One more time, really slow. So, front of the stitch, see that? Front of the stitch goes through the back of the stitch like that. So it looks like that. Pick it and bring it through the stitch. Okay? We're going to work to the end. So sometimes, like I was saying, this is how you do, like the traditional, like it's right over your finger like that, right? And you're picking it off your finger. But sometimes I find that a little bit annoying if you are knitting for extended periods of time, which I do. My job is knitting. And I find sometimes that this gets a little bit tender by picking it. And I'm really gentle. But hours and hours of this, sometimes it starts to get a little bit annoying. So what I do is I hold still tensioning, right? So it looks like that around my pinky finger and then up and over this finger here. So if you see that it's underneath these fingers, but over top of this finger, that's how we are tensioning. I find that it's helpful just to kind of lever my finger a little farther away so my needle isn't scratching over top of it. And I find that is more comfortable for me. But like I said, oh my goodness, some people like to correct. And if it's not comfortable for you, you're not going to do it. And knitting is so much fun, so enjoyable, so good for your mental health, right? Okay, we've done our first knit row. And because we're knitting flat, so you can knit in the round as well, which is a lot of fun. I have other videos on my channel that you can go check that out. But we're knitting flat today. So that means that we're going to purl back. So we just knit our first row and we're going to purl back. So the Norwegian purl stitch is so fun. It's like a dance. I'm going to show you that next. Okay, so we're going to take our knitting and put it in our left hand again. And bring your stitches up to the end of your needle. And again, that all depends on your comfort level. Some people are like right at the end of the needle and some people aren't. You do you. I'm serious, like you do you. Okay, so again, we're going to tension our needle or our yarn, by wrapping it around our pinky finger and then on top of our index finger. So it looks like that. It looks like that, right? Okay. And this is where it's going to get a little bit confusing and I might lose you. But this is where you're going to slow down the video and you're going to take your time or pause the video and just practice. This can be really frustrating. When I first learned the Norwegian purl stitch, I was like, oh my goodness. But don't get in your head about it. Just take your time, practice on a blanket or something like that. I would say a dishcloth, but honestly, I hate knitting with cotton, so I don't even suggest that because cotton is not always the most comfortable thing to knit with. I would suggest a wool based or acrylic based. Actually, wool is the best, but this Woolies by Lion Brand is decent and it's comfortable to knit with. So we're going to start there. So, okay. So again, we're going to tension our yarn by wrapping it around our finger and over our index finger, like we did when we were knitting. And you're going to keep, for this knit or for this purl stitch, your yarn never comes to the front of the work. Cool, right? It always will stay right here, which is awesome. So we're going to make sure that our yarn, and this first stitch is always the most difficult, okay? So just have patience with yourself. Sometimes even when I'm knitting this slow, I'm like, oh my goodness, yeah. So we're going to keep our yarn on the back of across our index finger like that. Never comes to the front of the work. We're going to take our left hand needle and bring it underneath the yarn here. And then we're going to go through the front of the stitch like that. Do you see that? Hopefully you can see that. Maybe I'll bring my camera down a little bit more. Does that work? Okay, so again, we're going to bring our needle behind our working yarn through the stitch from front to back as if to purl. This is where I'm going to lose you maybe. Then we're going to twist your needle to the back. And we're going to pick that yarn up. You see that? And we're going to bring it to the front and through that. And this, again, this first stitch is a little bit, but we're going to bring it through that stitch. We just created a purl stitch. Cool, right? The intention that went up. Okay, again, we're going to go really, really slow. Again, we're going to leave this working yarn on our index finger. We're going to go behind that yarn through the stitch as if to purl, because we are purling. And then we're going to twist our needle from the front to the back, pick that yarn up, bring it to the front, and through that stitch. See that? And tension it up. I always give it a little tug to tension it up, okay? Because your purl stitches always use more yarn. So I always, snug it up. Again, we're going to take our needle underneath that working yarn, through the stitch to the front, from front to back, like that. We're going to twist our needle to the back, pick that yarn up, bring it to the front, like that. You see that? And through our stitch, like that. I'm just going to adjust the camera because I feel like it's not focusing proper. Okay. Maybe there. Sorry about that. Okay, I just want to make sure that you guys can see this really good. Again, so we're going to tension by wrapping around our baby finger like that. And then like this. Okay, so that yarn is over our index finger like that. Okay, and then again, right to that focus, we're going to take our needle behind the working yarn and through that first stitch like that. You see that? Then we're going to take our needle and twist it to the back, pick up that yarn and bring it through that stitch like that. Once it's on here, we pull it off of there, and then you tension it up a bit. Okay, like this. There you go. You just keep on going in this way. This is a Norwegian purl stitch. And once you get going, it's like a dance. I'm getting a glare. So remember, you have to go underneath your working yarn. You never bring this yarn to the front of the work. And then you twist it to the back, pick that yarn up, bring it through the stitch. I'm trying to show you what it looks like that. You tension it up by giving it a little snug tug. Snug it up by tugging it. So again, remember you keep this underneath the needle like that. Okay? Twist it to the back, pick that yarn up, bring it to the front like that, and then through the stitch. You made a new stitch, so this one comes off. If I've lost you, don't worry. It took me a hot minute to learn this stitch because it's strange. It's different. Just give yourself lots of grace and patience, and you will get it. Once you get this, it's just, you fly through it. I love it because I don't have to, like an ordinary purl stitch, right? You come in this way, and then you have to take, so you hold it in front. You bring in an ordinary purl stitch. Sorry, let's start that again. You have to bring your yarn to the front of the work and then down like that, and then through the stitch. I don't like purling that way. It's awkward for me, if you could tell. So I really enjoy the Norwegian purl stitch. But remember that you go behind your working yarn like that, through the stitch as if to purl, twist it to the back, pick up that working yarn and bring it back and through the stitch. And what I find helpful, so I brought it to the front, and what I find helpful is, do you see the tip of my needle? I kind of brush it on the bottom of that other needle there, and I bring the stitch out like that. Snug it up. again, behind that working yarn, twist it to the back, pick that yarn up, bring it back like that. So it's on my needle like this, right? And then we're going to bring that working yarn through this stitch here, like so. Do you see that? Ta-da! So once you get going with it, you can really sail. And it's a lot of fun. It's important, like I find, to tension it with your pinky finger and also with your index finger, right? And I find it really helpful once I'm done the stitch to snug it up by pulling this finger, the index finger, a little bit. So again, there you go. We just did our first purl row. Ta-da! Right. And then we would move it back to our left hand and knit with the right needle, the empty right needle. And again, we're going to tension it, wrapping it around our pinky finger like that. So it looks like that. I'll show you. Doot, doot, like that. And then you pick off that yarn. And this first stitch is always needing to be snugged up. Like that. Knitting across. So you're picking it off of your finger. Oh, another thing that I should mention is when you go into the stitch, you're picking it this way. You see your needle goes this way and through. If you went another way, you would be, if you wrap your yarn in the opposite direction, you'd be twisting your stitches. So if you wanted to twist your stitches, and that's what the pattern calls for, you go through the back loop and pick it through the back loop, and that would be a twisted stitch. But we don't want to twist our stitches right now. I actually really love twisted stitches, especially for garments. I find they offer more structure than a regular knit stitch. Picking it off your finger. And everybody knits a little bit differently. Okay? You need to find what works for you. Because it would be a shame if you let somebody criticize your work. There we go. It's another knit row. And again, we're going to take it back to our other hand. And we're going to do a couple more purl stitches for you. So I need a little bit more yarn here. And these things are amazing. I'm going to show you really quick what I'm using. So this, I have it on, I can't really show you. Oh my goodness. But anyway, it's magnetic. Maybe I'll put a picture up here on the screen, but these things are so awesome. I love them. And then you get them off of Amazon. They're reasonably priced and they work like so good. All right, so making sure that we don't have our tail, we're gonna do another purl, a couple more purl stitches for you, so you don't feel like you're getting abandoned, because I know that this can be quite frustrating when you're first learning how to do the Norwegian purl stitch. So just have patience with yourself and you'll be fine. So again, we're going to tension by taking our yarn and over our pinky finger like that. And then take our index finger like that. And then we're going to close our hand. So this is close hand knitting. And then we're going to make sure that that yarn is over our index finger like we have before. And then we're just going to start purling again. So remember, the first purl stitch is always the hardest when you're doing flat knitting. So you want to make sure that You put your needle in behind your working yarn and through the stitch, right? And then you're going to kind of pinch it with your index finger and twist your needle around, pick up that yarn, bring it back to the front and through the stitch like that, right? Again, behind the working yarn, through the stitch as if to purl, twist it to the back, pick up that yarn, bring it to the front and through the stitch. Right? Everybody's got a different style. And if this purl stitch is not for you, then it's not for you. I don't care. And nobody else should care either. Knitting is such a personal thing, right? So remember, behind that yarn, the working yarn, through the stitch as if to purl, twist it to the back, pick up that yarn off of your finger, bring it to the front, and through the stitch like that, and then off your needle, right? And you can bring your stitches up closer if you want. Again, that's a personal preference. If you are making garments or if you're making pillowcases or blankets, it doesn't matter what you're making. I don't care. As long as you're having fun doing it, there's no wrong way, regardless of what social media and all the Karens say. As long as you're enjoying it, that's what's important. All right, so I have lots more tips and tutorials on my channel and on my website, so definitely go check that out. I also have, right now I do anyway, a free pattern that you can go and download. It's a beanie pattern, knitting in the round, and it's a fabulous pattern. All of my patterns are tech edited and tested by lovely test knitters. So go to my website and check that out. Subscribe to my email list and download that pattern, and you can get making a beanie today. So again, that is m1rknit.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next tutorial video.